You step into a crowded street. You don't decide how to walk. Your feet just know. They shift left, they slow down. They speed up around a stranger without you ever choosing to. You think you're in control of your own body right now. You're not. Something ancient just took over and you never noticed. Most people assume walking through a crowd is simple. Put one foot in front of the other, avoid bumping into people. That's it. But the real answer is far stranger. Your brain is running a calculation so complex that supercomputers struggle to model it, and it's doing this hundreds of times a second without asking your permission. Here's what's actually happening. The moment you enter a dense crowd, your brain stops treating other people as individuals. It starts treating them as forces: pressure, flow, resistance. You become part of a fluid system and you start behaving less like a person making choices and more like a molecule in a current. This isn't a metaphor, it's physics. In the late 1990s, a physicist named Dirk Helbing noticed something odd while studying how people move through train stations and stadium exits. He wasn't a psychologist. He was trained in statistical mechanics, the branch of physics that describes how gas particles behave. But when he modeled human crowds using the same mathematics used for fluids and granular materials, the predictions matched real human movement with eerie precision. He called it the social force model. Each person in a crowd is pushed and pulled by invisible forces: attraction toward a goal, repulsion from obstacles, repulsion from other people, just like particles in a fluid responding to pressure and friction. Think about what that means. When you walk through a crowded street, you are not really deciding where to step. You are responding to forces the same way water responds to the shape of a riverbed. Your brain evolved to do this calculation instantly because for most of human history, miscalculating your position in a moving group could get you trampled, separated from your tribe, or left behind during a stampede triggered by a predator. Have you ever noticed that crowds, left alone long enough, start to organize themselves into lanes? Even with no signs, no lines painted on the ground, no one giving instructions? People walking in one direction settle into one lane. People walking the opposite way settle into another. This happens in hallways, in airports, in narrow market streets, in cities that have existed for 1,000 years. Nobody planned it, nobody negotiated it. It emerges. Researcher Mehdi Moussaid studied exactly this phenomenon by filming thousands of hours of pedestrian movement in train stations and public squares. What he found was that lane formation isn't a learned social rule passed down through culture. It happens within seconds, even among strangers from different countries who have never interacted with each other before. It happens because each person is unconsciously adjusting their path based on the people closest to them, and those tiny adjustments, repeated across hundreds of people, snap into an organized pattern almost instantly. No one is in charge. The order builds itself from the bottom up. This is called emergent behavior, and it shows up everywhere in nature, not just in humans. Schools of fish do it, flocks of starlings do it, twisting into shapes that look choreographed but are really thousands of individual birds following 3 simple rules: stay close to your neighbors, don't collide, match their direction. Biologist Ayayan Kuzan spent years studying these collective movement patterns across species, from locust swarms to human evacuations, and found the same underlying mathematics again and again. Whether it's a fish, a bird, or a human leaving a packed stadium, the individual isn't thinking about the group. The individual is only reacting to what's immediately around it. The group intelligence is an illusion created by thousands of small local decisions. So why does this matter to you, walking down a sidewalk today? Because your brain still runs this ancient software, even though you're not avoiding predators anymore. You're avoiding a woman checking her phone, a man carrying too many bags, a child who suddenly stops to look at a window display. Your nervous system tracks their speed, their angle, their distance from you, constantly, without your conscious mind ever weighing in. By the time you become aware that someone is in your path, your body has often already begun adjusting around them. This is why walking through a crowd feels effortless when it's working and exhausting when it's not. When the crowd is moving at a similar pace in a predictable pattern, your brain barely has to work. The lanes form, the flow continues. But introduce one person walking against the grain, one person stopped in the middle of the path, one person moving unpredictably, and suddenly your brain has to recalculate constantly. This is why a crowded train station can leave you mentally drained even if you never spoke to a single person in it. You weren't being passive, you were running thousands of micro decisions a minute. There's a darker side to this same mechanism. The same forces that create smooth, self-organizing lanes can turn deadly under the wrong conditions. When crowd density crosses a critical threshold, usually around 6 people per square meter, the system stops behaving like a fluid and starts behaving like a solid under pressure. People can no longer move independently. They become locked into the motion of everyone around them. This is what happens in crowd crush disasters, and it's part of why Helbing's original research wasn't academic curiosity. It was motivated by trying to prevent exactly this kind of tragedy by understanding the physics early enough to redesign spaces before people get hurt. But on an ordinary day, on an ordinary street,